Hello, everyone. I'm very thrilled to have from Divinations and Sonwa, myself, Sonal Sachdeva, and Akshat Pandey from Vedic Akshat on speaking on this holy special called, issues relating with mental health and what are the specific karakas and what are the problems and special focus on mental health. And we will be talking, this is a sort of an initial introduction, and we will be doing many more sessions on mental health, only because I think a by and large in the East, not many people want to talk about mental health, and which is kind of ironic because in Ayurveda, mental health is also forms a big part of the Ayurvedic discipline. And in the West, of course, they talk so much that there's sort of right from medications to all kinds of clinical psychologists and all kinds of focus on mental health, but both of them, I think there has to be some kind of a holistic way of looking at why the causes of mental health. And what is it? Is it is it just somebody is just born with it, or is it something we acquire through our experiences which we imbibe on a subliminal level in childhood? So so we will talk quite a lot about in the next few sessions, but meanwhile, Akshat, over to you. Shall we proceed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Because why we choose this topic on mental health on the auspicious occasion of Holi, we need to understand that on Holi we worship Vishnu as Krishna, and it is by the grace of Krishna, who is the avatar of the moon that represents our mind. We all are sane in our life. So moon plays a very important role in determining the person's mental health. And that is why we choose this topic on Holi, because we are going to give you some tips of how to do Holi in Krishna Puja also. And that is actually very beneficial for your mental and emotional health.
Okay, let's move forward. Okay, so the mental health is dependent on the following factors in a horoscope. Of course, the moon. Chandra is, he's a Brahmana Raja. He is an absolutely, he rules the manas. He is the Karaka for manas. And the Surya, the sun in the chart will initiate the Raj yogas and everything, but it is the Chandra which is absolutely vital in sustenance of any kind of yogas. And absolutely it will, in fact, the Chandra Kendras are the most important Kendras in the horoscope. And so we will talk a little bit about the Shubhapati and a few things about the Gunas and yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now let's come to the moon actually. Why we are saying it the moon? Because without moon is the one and the foremost thing that represents our manas. It is a house, it rules a natural fourth house at a Cancer. That is the sign of mother, that is the sign of our happiness, and that is the sound of a security and home. So moon is playing a very vital role. That our moon placed in different rashis and different bhavas or houses in horoscope will tell us that how we are behaving in a society and how we are interacting with each other. Okay, so, and the Kendra of the moon is a whole life, the society, because from moon, we are seeing what we are experiencing the world, because moon is also a Karaka for Arudha Lagna, the experience that society thinks what we are, that is our reflection. So moon plays a very, very vital role in our thought process. Okay, and one of the best things that we have to see that where is moon placed in a sign? Is it moon placed in a good house or it is placed in a bad house? Moon in 6th, 8th and 12th houses is a bad moon because by virtue, the 6th, 8th and 12th houses, the Karaka is Saturn. And we know that moon and Saturn conjunctions are not good. So people, the first thing that we have to see whether the moon is placed or not, where the moon is placed. If moon is placed in 6th house, 8th house and 12th house, then it is a problem. Then the person has a tendency to become sad. That is one of the problems, because moon in 6th, 8th, and 12th needs that you need to maintain that moon. Okay, then we have to check that any planet that is sitting with the moon or aspecting moon will affect our thought process. May it be benefic or malefic, because we need a mind. The best moon is one who is free from everything. It has to be alone. But the moon is aspected by planets, the moon is conjoined with planets, they are going to affect our thought process and our emotions. For example, if a moon is sitting with Venus, then they say that, okay, it's a Annapurna yoga, that person is very good at making food, and then the person's nature is actually very giving and feeding to others. But if moon and Venus conjunction also forms a Rudra yoga, Rudra yoga means that you are boiling with anger. Venus also has some fire in it. Okay, so that is how we have to see. First, check how is the moon placed. Is the moon debilitated? It is in Scorpio, then that is bad. Is the moon in Aquarius? Then it is bad. So the different signs, we have to see that what is the sign and the house is placed, and we can see how the moon is behaving. Okay, we'll come to the conjunction later. I think you should do the gunas, right?
Okay, so we all know this is from the monumental text of Maharishi Parashara on Tattva and Guna from BPHS chapter 3. And so essentially he's talking about the tattva, and we all know, I don't want to go too much into detail because you can join classes or find other places to go through about which tattva is associated with which graha. But obviously fire and is Agni is associated with Mangal and Surya and Ketu, and Shukra is associated with Shukra and moon are Jala Tattva, air is Shani and Rahu, and ether or Nabha, which is the sky, the divine element, is no doubt Brihaspati or Jupiter, and earth is definitely Mercury. So here we are talking also the nature of planets. Just as people, the grahas themselves have a certain nature, and this is very fundamental to manifestation. What kind of grahas do you have? The tamasic grahas sitting on your, you may be a Sagittarius lagna, beautiful, very sattvic sign, but you may have like Rahu there, or you may have like Saturn there, and low and Mangal conjunction there. So what is, those are all very strong tamasic grahas. So that will alter your gunas, no doubt. So the sattvic planets are the luminaries, sun, moon, and of course Brihaspati, Jupiter. And Venus and Mercury tend to be very, very rajasic, and signs ruled by them are also predominantly rajas in guna, while Mars and Saturn and are tamasic grahas. Of course, the air elements, that this is the tamas is where our bulk of our Jyotish work is, because let's face it, if we were in between sattva and rajas, we wouldn't have the tamas issue, and there is no Saturn, Mars, or the nodes of the moon in our lives. And so literally we would be swinging between sattva and rajas, which is fantastic, but the fact is that human beings are multifaceted and they are multidimensional. So they have all these gunas. And of course, our ultimate thing is to go beyond the gunas, which is like Vishnu, like he's the Gunatita, which is very relevant because it is about holy, and it is all about Vishnu and Krishna. The moon avatar for Vishnu is Lord Krishna. So obviously mental health, when we talk of the moon, it is all about the mental health. And when we talk about the moon, we have to take into account the tamas energies or the tamas grahas, which is also the Rashis. Prima facie, this is the sort of a general one. As you go into much more depth, I think there are other gunas which the Rashis have, but we won't go for now, won't go into that. So Mercury and Venus rule tamas, are rajasic signs, which is Taurus, Gemini, Virgo, and Libra. There are also another classifications which classify the Dvishwa Bhava, that is the dual signs, as sattvic signs or rashis. But like I said, we won't go into that. Prima facie, we are just looking at the signs or the rashis which are ruled directly by the concerned grahas. And Saturn Mars nodes, of course, we know is now Ketu is an exception here. I put it in pink. Now, pink because Ketu is a graha which is can be very tamasic, but it is also the moksha karaka. So it is excellent for spiritual focus. So in a way, it is predominantly sattvic. But of course, it becomes tamasic when as human beings, we don't know how to deal with it. You are in Ketu Dasha and you suddenly want to start earning, and or you want to up your business profits or whatever. But that's not going to happen with Ketu. When Ketu comes, you have to give, when you are given lemons, you have to make lemonade. When Ketu comes, you have to have a very strong focus on spirituality in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, Ketu is going to give you a real beating, real whip. And it is only 7 years compared to 18 years of Rahu. And people say, oh, wow, what harm can Ketu, wow, Ketu with only 7 years can literally turn your life around. So, and I have been through the Ketu Dasha, so I speak with experience. So yeah, it is, but Ketu with a very good spiritual focus will give you very, very good results. But coming back, Aries, Scorpio, of course, Scorpio has Mangal and Ketu as its lordships, the dual lordships, as is Aquarius, dual lordships. And Aries and Capricorn have both, Mangal and Shani as their lords respectively. So these are, as it's evident, these are the tamas signs, and of course the sattvic is Cancer and Pisces and Sagittarius and Leo. Cancer and Pisces is a very, very, very deeply connected with knowledge and Vedantic knowledge, or knowledge coming from the Vedas, especially the Pisces. So these are extremely beautiful signs. And especially Pisces, as my guru says, Pisces is the best because it has got the best Aditya. It is the Vishnu Aditya. So in a way, Pisces I do consider as one of the most beautiful signs. Anyway, carrying forward, now, there is another guna classification given by Parashara in chapter 77, which he talks about the effect of the gunas. Like I said, you can read about this. We don't want to delve too much in depth because we've done so much of this. The sattva guna, of course, is if it is predominant and the person is of good character, he's scholarly, and so on and so forth. Rajas guna is about passion and acquiring, and even if it is knowledge, it's like an acquiring of knowledge, so that is very much in the territory of Rajas guna. And if that is a predominant in a person, and the person with Rajas guna is also very intelligent. So, and when the tamas guna is predominant in a person, then the person is lazy. He doesn't want to know much, and he doesn't want to change there's a sort of like a acceptance of a status quo. Let it be. How bad can it be? And it does get bad. And Parashara also calls the person stupid, dumb and murkha. So but of course, it is not an underestimation, it is the right estimation, because tamas people make a lot of mistakes because of their ignorance. So moving forward, when at the time of birth all the grahas are of equal dominance, the person has a mixture of all attributes, which is evident. And the persons or the creatures so born are classified as uttama, madhyama, which is the intermediate type, adhama, which is despicable. There's a spelling, pardon the spelling mistake, and udasina. Now, udasina is like a sort of a third category, and it is, a fourth category, which Parashara mentions, but it is also sort of indifferent or neutral, as we will see. And so these are the four kinds of pranis or animate beings that Parashara is talking about. And he relates their attributes as per described by Rishi Narada. Now here we talk about the Uttama class people. They have the possession of control over their indriyas, their organs. Of course, it is fantastic because they have control of their mind. It's not the mind that's driving them, it is they who are controlled over their minds. And once you can control, so they are great, by and large good meditators, but they have also samatvam. Samatvam is basically the acceptance and also the equanimity in very tough circumstances. No matter what circumstances you're in, no matter what dasha you're in, for them it doesn't matter, because there's very little that they want from the world. So these class of people are, of course, like the ascended masters and the rishis and all that. So that is, uttama class. But bear in mind, we are never just one thing. Sometimes we may behave uttama and then slide into the other gunas, and even down to the udasina, and as well as adama. So valor, splendor, patience, cleverness, not retreating in war, protecting the holy men are the natural attributes of the persons belonging to the rajas guna. So this is also sort of as we saw here, this is also madhyama guna. So it has a lot of flavor of the rajas guna, and as well as a little bit of the uttama class people as well. Now we come to the adhama class, which is obviously to do with a very strong tamas. Greed, falsehood, idiocy, laziness, and doing service of others are the inborn attributes of persons belonging to the adhama class. And then we have a fourth category, which is the engagement in agriculture and business, protection of cattle. Speaking both truth and lies are inborn attributes of persons belonging to the Udasina group. So Udasina, like I said, is a bit of a mixed bag, really. And it is, as he says early on, it is neutral, but he gives further classification that sometimes they can be, because of the mixture of gunas, they can behave in a certain way. They can behave a little bit like Adama, a little bit about a Madhama class. So, or sometimes even, Uttama. So moving forward, we see that he talks about classify the people as Uttama, Madhyama, Adhama, and Udasina after observation of the attributes. So what is functioning when? And a person should be considered appropriate for a job indeed, according to his attributes. Of course, why would you want to give, let's say, somebody who likes to clean and who's lazy a job in sort of like, computer coding or programming, where there is like a lot of thinking and a lot of Ketu energy and thinking outside the box is required. So that won't work. If among sattva, rajas, and tamas, any attribute is most dominant, it is considered the most predominant of all. Otherwise, all equal effects, So, of course, the lagna, the aspects to the moon will completely color it. And one last thing, great for matching horoscope, Vedic synastry, the affection relationship between an employer and employee and man and woman will invariably be stable if they possess the same attributes. And indeed, because they are relating, they're singing from the same hymn sheet. So that makes a big difference. Now, the last one, and my favorite, is among the above four classes of persons, if there is any kind of relationship between Adama and Udasina, or Udasina with Madhyama, or Madhyama with Uttama, there will be mutual affection and happiness. So here we are seeing that the guna next to that, is essentially quite well adjusted, because if it is Madhyama and Uttama, then they can work together. One is very strong rajas element, rajas in it, and so Uttama can bring in the equanimity and not the over sense achieving of goals and, constantly on the move. And similarly, Udasina and Madhyama, Udasina can do both. They can lie, they can, sort of get things done. And they're quite kind of very, not particularly that lazy either. So they can get on with Madhyama. And similarly, Adhama with Udasina can manage because they have similar, some subsets, similar sort of, sometimes Udasina can be a little bit, lazy and things like that. But this comes into play when it is about marriage more than employment. I would say in marriage, you would always want your man, your bridegroom, to have better attributes than the bride herself. And that is universal, I would say, because only because then you can look up to the person, and you want, ideally, whether it is a man or a woman, you want your partner to teach you a lot. And you also want to be, especially if you're a woman, you want the partner to be Brihaspati, Jupiter, to be able to give you the gift of knowledge and, show you the way, the right way, and things like that. And from that point of view, the bridegroom then needs to have better attributes than the bride. And similarly, the master, and I'm assuming in modern times it is the master, means the employer, the corporate employer, have better attributes than the servant, which is the employees. And there then will be mutual affection towards each other and happiness. And there, but if the bride or the servant, or which is the employee, sorry, possesses better attributes, that is a better gunas, then the relationship will be full of bitterness. So that you have to understand, because that is going to be very difficult. If you hire someone who's a madhyam guna, who's like very brilliant go-getter, who can achieve things, and who's also a brilliant, very high on his spiritual thing, and and if the employer is, let's say, a bit lazy and sort of doesn't want to, just wants to toe the line, then this whole setup is going to run into problems very quickly. Okay, Akshat, you want to say something?
Yeah, let's move to the next slide and we'll explain actually how the moon is working. Okay. Now, there are things that we have to see, that moon, when it gets influenced by any other planet, it influences our thought process. Okay. If moon is sitting with the benefic, like Venus, that I told you, that's Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, then it is not a bad conjunction, but there is some stress on the mind, because that planet is actually influencing your thought process. For example, if moon is sitting with Mercury, then the person may be very good in studies, or he will be very obsessed with studying or reading, because that also forms a Sharda yoga. But that is a very good yoga. So we do not take it bad, because it is someone is going for achieving of a higher knowledge. Now, again, there's this, if moon is with Jupiter, then that's a Gajkeshri yoga. Then the person is actually divulging and going upwards, in which the Jupiter is rising with the moon. And when moon is sitting with Venus, it's an Annapurna yoga, or it can be a Rudra yoga, depending on how you're using that energy. But when the problem comes is that when moon is sitting with malefics, moon should be devoid of any malefic aspect and conjunction. Because what is happening when these malefics actually conjoin the moon, they are influencing the moon to become like them. Moon is just like water. Moon is the one of the planets. Moon and Mercury are the only two planets that can lose their sattva guna. Mercury can become tamasic, lose its rajas guna, and moon can lose its sattva guna and become tamas. That is why we say that tamaschan, that is why our mind is always changing. Moon is always changing its nature. From one paksh to another, moon is going into tamas, then it's coming into sattva with full of light, then it is going to with tamas. So what we have to check, whether the first thing that we see, that what planet has conjoined moon, or what planet is aspecting moon. If moon conjoins Mangal, then it's a Rudra yoga. Rudra means anger. Mangal is the lord of the eighth house, that is one of the Rudra bhavas. Then the person may have issues, anger issues, and he can have fits of anger. Then we have to solve that. When moon is sitting, how can we solve that? We can worship Bagla Devi, so that the negative energy of the Mars is controlled and moon comes out. That is one of the issues that you see. The other problem is that when moon is sitting with Saturn in a parampara is the sorrow. Wherever Saturn sits in your horoscope, that is the sorrow you have to see. And the houses that Saturn aspect, you will have problems from their house. What happens when moon is sitting with Saturn? Oh, it's a Kalika yoga. What is Kalika yoga? They say that you have to worship Kali. Why? Because whole life you're going to see so much of suffering. Saturn is telling the person with moon and Saturn conjunction that, okay, you need to suffer through life, and you will see, your mother will see suffering, and you will see great sorrow and depression unless you remove the energy of Saturn, that you become spiritual. Saturn is making you spiritual because it's giving you a lot of karmic suffering. So you have to worship Kali. Moon Saturn conjunction is one of the worst conjunctions that I can see. What is it's like a permanent sadasati on your head.
Especially if it is for a man, I think it will create a lot of problems in relationships, Saturn, moon opposites, moon conjunction Saturn, moon opposite Saturn, I think also will have the same issue. For a man, I think it's particularly not nice.
Yeah, why? Because we're saying for the man, because by the power inherently, the female has a very strong moon because they are giving birth to children. A man cannot have as strong Venus and a moon just like a female. So for men, it is much more worse because they are very prone to anger and depression. Now, then again, the other bad yoga is moon with Rahu. That is a grand yoga. Rahu is eclipsing your mind. You are always overthinking. You're always running your mind in things. Oh, what I have to do this, go into more deep, do it, and you're obsessed and you completely lost it. Your mind is not getting proper rest. So that is giving you an obsession in your mind. Moon and Rahu then what you need to do, you need to worship Devi Chinnamastaka or Durga. By that, moon is going to come out of the negative effects of Rahu. Then we come moon and Ketu conjunction. Moon and Ketu is actually the lunar eclipse. Ketu has the power to eclipse the moon. Ketu does not have a head. Ketu is the planet who does not have a head. What happens when he sits on your lagna or on your moon? It is destroying the moon, completely destroys the moon. The person can be absolutely headless. He can have multiple shocks in life that can make him behave like a headless person. And it is one of the worst. Then we need to worship Dhumavati Devi. Why I am telling you these remedies? Because when you see someone's chart and you see, because everybody's chart moon is aspected by one or two malefic. None's moon is free of any malefic aspect. Everybody has some of the issues, and we have to see how much the extent of that issue is manifesting. So there are other factors also, but first we see what planets are conjoined and aspecting the moon. Okay, now let's get to the next slide. Okay, now what is Tamas Chandra actually? What is happening? Moon is not constant in light because moon and sun are dancing around us. Okay, and moon, there are 16 tithis and 2 pakshas. Okay, so what is happening? The distance between the sun and the moon is determining which tithi you are born. Tithi, and what happens when moon is getting closer and closer to the sun? The moon started losing light. And that means that moon is losing its sattva guna and moon is becoming tamas guna. And moon becomes very malefic on 3 days. One is Krishna Chaturdashi, Amavasya, and Shukla Pratipad. These are the tithis. These are very, very negative tithis and create a dosha. If you see that if moon is Shirna Chandrama, what we say that if moon, you are born after Krishna Ekadashi to Shukla Pashvi, that the moon is having very little light. That means the moon has no sattva guna at all, and you are very prone to negative thoughts and negative things. So for that, you need to make sure that the moon is becoming more strong by doing some ready aspects. But the worst is Krishna Chaturdashi. Persons who are born on Krishna Chaturdashi will face the anger of Shiva because that is the time when moon is going into complete darkness. And Amavasya is just like Kali. It's complete darkness out there and you have to worship Kali. And Shukla Pratipad, that moon is coming out of that darkness but still has no light, then we have to worship Vishnu. If person has born on these 3 tithis, or if person is born from Krishna Ekadashi to Shukla Panchami, the moon is said to be Shirna. Shirna means damaged. You need to do that remedy.
Yeah. Okay. Shubhapati.
Yeah. Now Shubhapati. What is Shubhapati actually? We have to say Shubha means to do something good, and Pati means the Lord. The Lord of the moon sign is one of the most important planet in your chart. Okay, because it has given the responsibility to pump the blood in your body. If moon is the blood, then Shubhapati is pumping. No matter what Shubhapati is there. If moon is sitting in Capricorn, then Saturn is the Shubhapati, and Saturn becomes very important. So what is happening, Shubhapati? What is happening if moon is sitting alone? We say that, oh, moon is okay, but the still person is having issues or anger. Then we have to check the Shubhapati. If Shubhapati is conjoined in a malefic yoga or ill-placed or damaged, then the person's mind or way of thought process can be damaged. This is much more serious than the conjunction of the moon itself. Because if moon is getting damaged, the Shubhapati that has the power to take that moon out if it's aspecting the moon. But if the Shubhapati is getting damaged, then there is a very high chance of a permanent damage of the mind and the brain. Okay, Shubhapati, I have seen so many charts where the Shubhapati is under a curse and person has lost his mind. They might have some problem like schizophrenia, paranoia. So many different diseases are coming from that. And one of the worst things is that when the Shubhapati is associated with Badhak, moon or Shubhapati associated with Badhak, it's one of the sure shot methods that will have some problem, some or other mental problem will be there.
Yeah. I think sometime in the future we'll do more on Badhak and as well as and Arud Badhak from Arud Lagna, and how those can be a problem. But anyway, moving forward.
That is one of the worst. People who I've seen so many cases in which persons is having autism, so many problems. Then we have to see that the moon association with Badak or moon lord is in a curse with Badak, and the Lagna is very great. So there's a complete damage of the mind.
Yeah. Anyway, moving forward, and for those of you who don't know, Dvishwa Bhava signs have Badak as the 7th house or 7th lord, and for Chara Rashis, which is movable signs, have Badak lord as well as the Badak star as the 11th house, and for fixed signs, Thira Rashis, it is the 9th house and the 9th lord, which is a problem, right, Akshat? So moving forward, Lagna or which is our Viveka, our intelligence, our Dhi. So you say Saturn and Ketu are most problematic planets.
Saturn and Ketu are most problematic.
Now it also forms a Turagadi yoga, which we have learned in Gemini as well as other, it has a very specific, these people are brilliant with animals, or they have a ability to talk to animals, but it is still going to create some issue, right?
Yeah, because what is happening? Why you are talking to animals? Because you are not able to communicate with the humans. You're not able to adjust in the society very well. Yeah. People are not telling, because what is happening? The Lagna is just it is your seat of intelligence. It is like your brain. It is like your CPU. And what type of hardware you are having? If a malefic planet is sitting over there, then it is going to give you negative things. Yeah. Saturn is Marana Karaka in Lagna. So what is happening? Saturn is telling, oh, you have Saturn me, you want me to take care of your health and intelligence. Oh, I feel like dying over here. Okay, I can't do the job. Then person is having a bad health or is always dissatisfied because he thinks I'm wherever I go, I see sorrow. That is one of the problems with this. And what happens with Ketu? What happens? Ketu does not have a head. So if it's sitting in your Lagna, whole life you are trying to find your identity, because you are so rash in your things that you're not able to think. You're only using your intuition and going away. You're not using your mind at all. Ketu is like Shunya. Ketu is a very benefic planet for someone who is into spirituality, into sannyasa. But that is a different league. Not everybody is going to take sannyasa and go into spiritual life. But most of us are going to remain in sansara, in a material life. For that, Ketu is playing havoc. Ketu says that, okay, I'll do zero everything. I'll make you brain zero. I'll make you intelligence zero. That is one of the problems. Ketu is becomes you headless. Mars in the Lagna, we can say, see, Mars is not a bad planet in the Lagna, but it's a malady. Why we say that Mars is not bad? Because if we see the natural zodiac, the first house is ruled by Mars. The first house is ruled by Mars. So when Mars is sitting in Lagna, we can say that the person have some anger issues, or he might have head injury. But I don't like any of these planets in the Lagna. Rahu,
Okay.
Rahu in the Lagna, Rahu in the Lagna is a person, it makes a person very intelligent at times. But again, it is giving the obsession that person can be obsessed with so many things, because Rahu wants to do a lot of over. He wants to try everything. He is having 10 heads. So you are actually, your hands are full of multiple things. You're not able to concentrate on one thing. That is one of the problems with Rahu. So we don't want these planets in Lagna. One of the best planets to sit in Lagna is Jupiter, or Jupiter is in Digbala, Mercury is in Digbala, that is giving you higher knowledge, complete knowledge. Ishana is there. Sun in Lagna is also very good, because Sun is the significator of the Lagna. These are the planets that, otherwise all malefic planets are problematic in Lagna.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially if you have Sun along with some malefic influences, then, it's very difficult to come out of an afflicted Sun. Tough. Okay, so the last one, and then we are done. Lagnesh and Papa Lagna.
Yeah. Now, Lagnesha, the Lagna Lord. See, what is the importance of Lagna Lord? See, Lagna is your head, it's your machinery. But what data is going to input and how is going to process is the Lord of the Lagna, Lagnesha. Okay, so Lagnesha is like our operating system, that what information we are getting it and inputting a Lagna. If Lagnesha is hit, if Lagnesha is in a problem, then again the Lagna will also become weak. Because that is why we see that for Moon, we saw the Shukpati, that is Lord of the Moon sign, and for Lagna, we are seeing the Lord of the Lagna. Why? Because it is his house. If he is damaged, he cannot maintain his house only. That is one of the things. The problem is if Lagnesha is in malefic, if Lagnesha becomes debilitated, okay, if Lagnesha is under a curse, then the person will have some health issues. Seriously, health issues will be there, serious damage to his childhood. Because yes, one thing has to be noted. If malefics are in the Lagna and Lagnesha is in a very badly hit place, then childhood is ruined. And from that childhood trauma, there might be some mental issues. Because Lagna is your childhood also.
Yeah.
We see that Lagnesha should be strongly and well placed. And everybody should always make their Shukpati and Lagnesh strong. That is one of the remedies to make sure that your memory, your mind stays happy.
Yeah.
Now,
the Rashi mantra of the moon is one of the best. Yeah. And as well as the mantra for the, the Lagna Lord is one of the best. So Paka means ripening. So we went through that. If malefic yogas or planets affect the Paka Lagna, serious mental diseases can
This is actually one of the most problem, because if Paka Lagna said you are not able to process or intake any information at all.
Yeah.
You take any cases of children who are suffering from autism, and you will see that there is some other affliction to Paka Lagna will be there.
Yeah.
Because your Paka means that your mind is not maturing enough. Is not able to mature. It is not, you're not able to mature or write that knowledge to make your use. So Paka Lagna is very, very important. A person's head is in the Lagna, but he is working through his Paka Lagna. All Aries ascendant persons are not the same. It's there. You can take 5 Aries ascendant persons, and everybody will have a different Paka Lagna. Everybody's thought process will be different. There will be so many things will be different. Twins are born with the same Lagna, same chart, but their thought process is so different because their Paka Lagna is different, working in a different way. So if you see that Paka Lagna is the sign in which your Lagna Lord is sitting, if you see there are malefic yogas present, or the Pakesha is very hit, or Paka Lagna is actually in the Badak sign, oh, it's a serious problem. Suppose your Lagna Lord is Saturn and it is sitting in Scorpio, Capricorn Lagna, and the Badak is Scorpio sitting in Scorpio, and we have Mangal also over there.
Yeah. I mean, from my files, I also have like Leo Lagna, exalted Lagna Lord in the 9th house, and but that it's in the Badhaksthana, that can create problems. And I
that
do
will
know
create a problem. That will create a problem. Exalted means that you are very high in ideals, but it does not guarantee you that your mind is right or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Then that we have to look at the moon. So, okay.
Moon, everything you have to see. Because see, these are the just general stuff that you can identify the causes of the problem on the physical level. Then there are advanced things that we say. There are malefic yogas like Unmad yoga, that is a yoga of madness. Then we can see that there are Pap Kartari yogas. Then there is something called on the nakshatra level. There's Navtara Chakra and Manas Nakshatra that is giving you mental ability. Then there's Nakshatramsha that is due to what is your mental strength and weaknesses. Then we see how the Upagraha and Apakash grahas are placed in your chart, and Karakamsha and diseases in the Navamsha. So it's a very, very huge study. What we have given you, it's a bird's eye view on the basic things that a beginner can look in the Rashi chart.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the new astrology, and he comes over there and he can look into the Rashi chart and say, oh my God, this is a problem. What we should do? If anybody is having any sort of mental problems, I'll recommend simply give them the Krishna mantra.
Yeah,
absolutely. If you don't know anything, Om Namo Vasudevaya. That is one of the best mantras that a person can give to someone. Yeah, Dwadakshari, a person who is having any issues of mental issues.
Okay, so we have to end now, Akshat. Happy Holi and
happy Holi to everybody.
Yeah, and speak soon. Okay, lovely. Bye, Akshat.
Bye.
Bye.